The trial begins for a man accused of a heinous crime. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Patricia Balloon. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, the trial for a suspected drug courier charged in a 2010 quadruple homicide gets underway in Upper Marlboro. Darrell Ballard faces 4 counts of first-degree murder and related charges for the execution-style shooting deaths of Wasidi Sakala, Dawn Brooks, and Brooks's 2 children. Rochelle Metzger was in the courtroom for opening statements and has the story for us tonight.
The defendant in this case, 46-year-old Darrell Ballard, is accused of brutally killing 2 women and 2 young children, a girl and a boy, ages 3 and 5, execution style, inside a makeshift trash-filled apartment in Lanham. One of the victims, Dawn Brooks, was related to Ballard by marriage, and Ballard, his girlfriend, sold drugs, and they allegedly kept a stash of marijuana at Brooks's home where she lived with her children. It was a disagreement over missing drugs that prosecutors say led Ballard to shoot the victims one by one in the head, first Brooks, and then Wasidi Sakala, then 3-year-old Shayla, and finally 5-year-old Shakur. Police found a photo on Gilmer's cell phone showing the boy still alive on a bed next to the dead bodies. Today, prosecutors also showed graphic crime scene photos of the young children's bodies, which caused gasps in the courtroom and sobs from relatives, several who actually had to leave the courtroom because they were so emotional. But in the opening statements, prosecutors say it's these photographs, the cell phone and DNA evidence, as well as testimony from Gilmer that will allow them to link Ballard to these murders. Now, Ballard's attorney, a public defender, in his opening statements reminded the jury that he's presumed innocent until proven guilty and that the burden of proving his guilt lies solely on prosecutors. He said their only job is to show up, so they've done their job. Now, I tried to talk to family members, but obviously it was an emotional day and they're too distraught to talk with me. But I did speak to Eva, Ballard's mother, who traveled down from Texas for the trial. I asked her how her son was doing. She shrugged her shoulders. I asked her how she was holding up. She said barely. She said she's leaving it all up to God. In Upper Marlboro, I'm Rochelle Metzger, CTV News.
And the trial is expected to last about a week. Ballard faces a maximum sentence of life without parole if convicted.
Meanwhile, Patty, police are investigating a murder-suicide that happened in Fort Washington this morning. The 2 victims were recently divorced. Byron Scott has our story.
Police are investigating a murder-suicide in Fort Washington at the Westwood apartment complex on Jaywick Avenue. Now, police were called to the scene at around midnight this morning for a domestic dispute. When they arrived, they saw a man and a woman both suffering from numerous gunshot wounds. Both were pronounced dead at the scene.
It was later determined through an investigation that the female was returning home from celebrating her birthday. And the male, who is her ex-husband, approached her and an argument ensued. The male shot the female and then turned the weapon on himself and shot himself.
Investigators identify the shooter as 32-year-old Lester Fletcher Jr. They say he shot his ex-wife numerous times. Now, police say the 2 were recently divorced and that they have a child together. Now, again, this investigation is still open. They're asking anyone who may have any information to give them a call. In Palmer Park, Byron Scott, CTV News.
In terms of the child that Byron mentioned in the story, police have not released the gender or age of that youngster. Who can forget the water crisis that almost happened in Prince George's County last year? That, along with other regional issues related to H2O, were discussed at a Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments meeting. You'll remember during the peak of summer in 2013, the Washington Sanitary Suburban Commission announced it was turning off the water for days to fix a part of a pipe. However, workers were able to make the repairs and prevent the shutdown that would have affected thousands and left people without water. Today, the county's chief administrative officer talked about some of the lessons they learned from that incident.
We needed to give the residents a chance to prepare for it. So even before they, actually shut the system down, we were letting people know so that they could prepare for it. Other things that we think are important is that WSSC and the county governments, Montgomery and Prince George's, should develop and participate in the development of a county by county and regional water supply and water outage plans. Specific areas addressing these plans should include water distribution, accidental or intentional contamination, information sharing, communications, local, state, non-government assets.
The Council of Governments will also be discussing transportation, energy, and other issues related to the region in upcoming meetings.
The Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development is relocating to Prince George's County. Officials held a groundbreaking ceremony in New Carrollton this afternoon to mark construction of what will be the county's first state agency. The new headquarters will be a mixed-use facility involving multiple phases, offices, residences, and restaurant entertainment. Officials say the project will bring hundreds of jobs and revitalize the New Carrollton Metro Station area.
By the time the entire project is completed, we'll have 2,400 residential units, 100,000 square feet of retail space, and a 300-room hotel. And together, we're going to create over 450 direct jobs while generating $8 million in economic benefit for Prince George's County.
It's been probably 35 years since the metro station was built, and we've heard promises over the years that we're going to have development here, and we have the IRS and a couple other buildings here, but the O'Malley Brown administration really stepped up. They said that they were going to put our state agency here, and that's going to be the spark that's going to make even more good development happen.
And that construction project is expected to be completed in the spring of 2015. Well, you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Denise Douglas. Up next.